This photo's been breaking the internet. Welcome back, Troglodytes, to your daily dose of guitar information, the Trogly's Guitar Show. If you're looking for a great place to talk about guitars, Facebook groups are a great way to do that. Whether you want to talk about Epiphones, Gibsons, or any other brands in between, you can usually find some sort of a group online dedicated to your niche. But my friends, Richard Davis over here has been breaking the internet with some of his pictures. And we're gonna start with this one. Holy cow. What a gorgeous 70s 3-pickup Les Paul Custom, right? Those are pretty rare. You don't see them really get introduced until Peter Frampton makes them popular again around 1976. So that's when like Natural and Black Beauty 3-pickups come back into fashion. And it looks like it has some sort of a 70s Gibson case. You would occasionally find this on them in the mid-70s. But this thing seems to be so historically clean. Oh wait, what's the headstock? Yeah, who cares about 3-pickup in the 70s case? Look at that thing. Let's count the tuners. I count 12. Oh, and did you notice there's this giant custom block emblem on it? It's like a Gibson Super 400's headstock put onto a Les Paul. So unfortunately, for many a weeks, this is all Richard posted about this guitar, and people over in the comments were like, whoa, really cool, crazy. And I really wanted to know more about it because I love collecting weird oddball 70s and 80s guitars. And the fact that this one had the ABR1 bridge on top of it made it really special. But I'm happy to say, Richard has finally shared some more photos. So here's our first one. Doesn't tell us much new, except for we do have the historic beveled edge of our pickguard, as well as the 50s style reissue knobs. For some reason, I thought I was seeing speed knobs over on this photo, but it has binding on the top and back, regular ebony fretboard, mother of pearl, nothing too crazy there. But now let's move on to the headstock. What a weird thing this is. I don't know if I like it necessarily, but I can see why they did it. So you have to elongate the headstock. On some 50s customs, they have these rather strange looking short headstocks right here. So that's kind of funny that this one has that same phenomenon going on, or maybe it's just exaggerated because they had to stretch out the headstock. But we've got Kluson tuners on it, making it really 50s spec'd. Something about the logo looks a little bit janky in this particular photo. John over here with the great joke. It's what makes this thing unique, though. 12-string Les Pauls. In case you're not familiar, there are a few different runs out there. We've documented a few of the Les Paul traditional 12 strings in the Goldtop finish in this episode. Warren Haynes is famous for using a 12-string Les Paul as well. So they have been made in the past, but I am not aware of any 70s produced ones. Unfortunately, our next photo bucks what the case was telling us. This crazy guitar is from 1992, technically pre-custom shop, because the custom shop as we think of it in a completely separate division opens in late 1993. But there was still this lab where they could make crazy stuff. Right down here you can see Custom Shop Edition. That's what they used from roughly late 1982 until 1994. Usually that means it was a small limited batch run, but some early custom shops utilized that before they changed it. But how do I know it's from 1992? Well, with that on it and this style of serial number, our only options would be 82 and 92. And 82, maybe, just maybe, but then they would have had to have used this leading digit for something else. It's unlikely. We would need to see more photos, but everything I see so far looks 1992 to me, because those will read year and then production number. And whoa, change of events, my friend. This photo shows you the top carve, but look. That's not supposed to be an ABR1 bridge. Somebody's thrown that on top. It's got regular Nashville-style studs on it. And if you think this weird elongated headstock with the giant stretched out custom emblem looks dumb, here's a picture of Joe Perry with the tiny one. This one's got chrome hardware, 2 pickups this time, but it's got the smaller custom emblem. Apparently, at least 2 of these have photographic evidence that have surfaced online. I can say this is the first batch of Les Paul 12-string customs that I've ever seen. And Richard, you've got a really cool guitar. However, now that we know that it's most likely an early 90s, this makes complete sense. Because I actually have a guitar in my collection very similar to this. Also from the year 1992, here's a Les Paul custom blending in with a Gibson Super 400. It's got the super ultra spaced out pickups. Somebody had Carlos Santana sign it. We kind of went through this chase to see if it was actually meant to be a signature guitar for him. I later found out from a previous owner that it was not. But check out our neck. It's got the curly Q at the bottom. It's got the super ultra crazy multiply binding and purfling all around it, the Super 400 inlays. And the crazy crazy binding didn't stop there. It was also on the side. It's got the whole golden drum shell vibes going on with the heel cap on the back. But you might be saying, okay, Trogly, get to the point. How's this like the 12 string? Well, it has the giant headstock that these were using, but this just came off of the Super 400. But you could tell how this headstock could definitely take some extra tuners to be converted into a 12 string, so it's likely very similar. However, mine actually did utilize a real Gibson ABR1, but you will see that this is a third size of the custom emblems. So I have no doubt in my mind, these guitars were all made probably around the same time as they were experimenting in the very early days of what we think of as the custom shop today. The early 90s is relatively unexplored territory, and I'm just enjoying seeing what pops up. So thank you, Richard, for sharing more photos of your guitar. It's awesome. But what if I told you we're not done yet? He also struck twice with this. Now this one, unfortunately, we do not have any additional photos of, but I think this is the first reissue burst 12 string that I've seen. And just looking at this one, that has that signature characteristic very early days of the custom shop die job. This had to be a cool custom order that nearly looks like it could be real mother of pearl inlays on here. I mean, if you're elongating the headstock and adding more tuners, why not have some more fun? But from this photo angle, definitely looks like it has the true ABR1 and a fantastic flame top. But if we come over here, he's also saying this one is 92/93. If it's a 93, it's probably a late 93, but unfortunately, I don't have the serial number, so we can't date it further. But since we got some time left tonight, let's see what else he's got. I notice an ES225 over here in the beautiful natural finish. Single dog ear P90 in the middle. Those things are kind of fun. A long time ago, I had a refinished one that had a cool rockabilly orange color. But outside of that, I can't really add any useful commentary to these other ones, but I do like the vibes of this one. Almost looks like it has a rosewood binding. Very Ibanez-like vibes. This is an interesting double-cut telly-like guitar that was apparently made by Mr. Mosrite, so that's pretty cool. Those frets are ultra shiny with a really nice quilty top, I would categorize that one as. Grugget. But speaking of tellies, here's an interesting one. I like that fretboard. That's like extra caramelized. And they have the matching flamed headstock veneer to match the guitar, which appears to have some interesting pickup combinations within it. And of course, if he's got the telly and the other one, you're going to have the Stratocaster. Interesting use of dot inlays on all of these. So you get the double dots everywhere, except for at the center point with the triple dot. But I was wondering why that looks strange. No pickguard on an S-style guitar, and double humbuckers. And if that's not crazy enough, it doesn't have a trem. That appears to be a hardtail. I like that. And then this appears to be a take on an ES335, maybe? It looks a little bit chunkier than that. There actually is a model within Gibson's history called the ES150DC that is like a super chunky 335. I haven't actually dove into one of these to know if it's got the center block or any of that, but you'll never forget the first time you see one of these things randomly because it's just like, whoa, what happened to that guy? They're kind of endearing. I definitely need to review one of those. But back here, it seems kind of somewhere in between those, but yet also blending ES artist elements into it because you got the three little switches down here. It looks like wooden knobs, Bigsby, gold hardware, some sort of a makeshift wooden pickguard. But now I've got two more to share with you tonight. Just recently listed on Reverb by Cosmos is a 2018 Les Paul Classic. 2018 Classics are really cool because they were offered in P90 pickup combinations, and there's also a blue version out there. So you gotta remember, historically, this is right before Gibson gets taken over by new ownership. They introduce the original and modern collection and have something called the 50s P90 standard. Honestly, those and the old 2018 Classics, they really weren't all that different. Outside of the Classics having that characteristic late 2010s wide Gibson headstock that they changed. But I thought this was an interesting modification. Somebody has pinstriped one of these, so now you're getting Billy Gibbons vibes. He's got a signature gold top that only has 3 knobs and it's like all chambered out. On top of that, you got little Mr. Rockabilly Devil Dude here. Kinda matches the vibe. Reminds me of Diablo Guitars, which is a used instrument dealer. They even have some finish checking going on. Now, it looks like they might use the compressed air technique on this one, so that doesn't always work out as well as like freezing it in other ways because it's a bit more unpredictable, but some of the checking looks nice. Although I'm not a big fan of the vertical ones because you don't normally see that authentically unless there's moisture-related damage. But it looks like it's actually flaking up in some areas. Moving on to the back, doesn't look like they aged that in the slightest. But if that one speaks to you, it is $2,900 plus $100 shipping. And then the Music Zoo with a really cool used 2015 Gibson Explorer for $6,500. I gotta remember, back when Gibson was making the mahogany body regular Explorers, you can check out this review and documentation if you want to learn more. The biggest difference between those and the Korina ones really just comes down to the woods used. So is it worth paying twice as much for the Korina? That's up to you. Personally, I'd like the mahogany ones just as much, but I also like the 1976 limited edition specs too. And those are made out of mahogany, so these are just kind of a blending of those two. So when they used to be in production, they were $5,000, so this one being $65,000, what makes it different? Well, it's white and it's aged, but it's like a TV white finish, so you can see all the wood grain, and that pairs very well with the aging job. This is fairly tasteful for a relic. This photo that's a bit more close up definitely shows that off a little bit better. And then when you don't have the bright studio lights, now you gotta remember, this is 2015, so pre-Murphy Labs aging. They were likely using the razor blade technique, which some look better than others, but I think they did a pretty decent job on these. You also don't have to worry about the finish ever flaking off of them. But yeah, sometimes it just looks like somebody razor bladed up your headstock, because I'm fairly confident that is the technique that they were using at that time. But it looks like we have a little bit of discoloration going on the neck. And typically used, the regular mahogany ones, they'll sell around $3 to $4.5. So if you like the whole relicing thing, I don't think they're asking prices too crazy. I don't imagine that one will last long, because to custom order that today, they would probably force you into the Korina body, so you're talking twice as much. But I agree with them. That's not a bad weight for an Explorer. 7 pounds, 11 ounces. Alright, Troglodytes, I hope you enjoyed tonight's episode. Do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll catch you tomorrow on the next one. Take care. If you enjoyed tonight's episode, consider subscribing. I post videos like this every day. And you might even enjoy this next one.